The Valkyries head out on the road with this 3-game winning streak into Dallas. The 1-11 Dallas Wings with Paige Beckers and a coach that looks like a yoga instructor. No, they've been very disappointing this early start of the season for the Dallas Wings. And it was a game where they just got their first win. I think it was against Connecticut, but it was like, you want to get this one before you head off into Caitlin country at the end of the week, because that's going to be super tough. But, it's starting to feel like the turnover of this Valkyries roster is going to catch up with them. Half the roster is at this Euro Cup, and the latest being the starting center, Temi Fagbenlay, headed over to, is she on Team France as well? The France team has got to be, the French team, has to be loaded in this Euro Cup. Listen, we're not getting enough scoring from the backcourt in the guards, right? Van Loo's over there. Tiffany Hayes did return, and that's hopefully an answer to some of this. But Veronica Burton and Carla Late were a combined 3 of 14 last night in Dallas, and they're just simply not putting enough pressure on these other teams' defense, and it's putting too much pressure on the forwards to do all the scoring. Janelle Salon was the leading scorer, right? And she hasn't seen a shot she doesn't like, and she had big scoring nights. And then Kayla, the reigning player of the week, is, she looks like she might mess around and make an all-star game the way she's playing. So this huge uptick in scoring from her career numbers. But let's talk about the backcourt before we talk about the forwards here. Veronica, I've talked about this, and I know it's not her nature necessarily to be a scorer, but she's got to gather. We've all heard the saying as a basketball player, if we're even, I'm leaving, right? Like if you're even, if your shoulders are even with the defender, you should win that matchup, turning the corner and getting downhill. And Veronica, she just pounds the shit out of the ball with these baby steps, and she's never able to stride, pick up, and turn the corner. I think that's a huge part of limiting her offense, getting to the rim. And then the shot it's a good shot. I saw it here live in Phoenix in person. I was like, oh, it looks good, right? But it's just the confidence isn't there. And you saw her just kind of aiming her 3-ball last night. And, if she's, I understand she's an all defensive caliber lead guard, but if she is going to be the lead guard of the future, you have to put more scoring around her. Now, Carla, at 21 years old, I think gets more of a pass for some of the things that's going on. She hasn't shot the ball well yet, but I like her confidence and I like her shot better than Veronica's. And, she seems to have this signature between the leg, go left, high off glass move that they could probably clear out and go to a little more with that quick first step. I don't really have a problem offensively with the shots she's taking. You hope she makes more of them. The defensive end from Carla Late is the issue, as it is with a lot of rookies and young players. And it's the angles that she's taking. She's in danger of fouling out every night, even in limited minutes at times, because of that block charge call. And I'm not talking about stepping over from the weak side. She does a great job. She's clearly fearless at sliding over and taking a charge from the weak side. She got Paige last night. It's on ball when the ball handler is trying to turn the corner on her. She just takes the wrong angle, right? She goes where they are as opposed to where they're going. She's got to flatten out and take a better angle. And, understand that sometimes you can't recover back in front. And in the W, where these women are bigger, stronger, and faster, you're not always going to be able to recover in front. And that's where you have to either ride the hip or the good old Andre strip and rip move. Use your quick hands. And so, she's not there yet defensively with the angles. But what she does have is the want, the effort, and the fearlessness to defend. So, I think eventually Carla's going to be a strong defender. She's only 21, right? But the angles thing, she has a ways to go as far as figuring it out. But she has what you can't teach. And most of all, that's the want to defend, the competitiveness to defend. But yeah, if I say all that to say, fine, start Veronica and Carla. I'm good with that. But I don't know if you play them as many minutes when they are struggling to produce as a backcourt combined, again, 3 of 14, when you have aerial powers. Is it Julie Chen the girl from UConn that they brought back in. Do they deserve some minutes in a look here if those two are not going to produce? And I don't know if you want to label Kate Martin as a guard. She's like a bigger guard forward, I guess, right? But she was just out to lunch, man. Someone had warned me of that with Kate after a good game. They were like, yo, she's just not consistent in her, her motor. Like if you're going to be that slow of foot, you got to play with the better motor. Like Kate she looks baked out there sometimes. And so when you look at those three as kind of like your back court right now, with half of them back in the Euro Cup, again, time to take a look at some of these other girls because they didn't produce enough. Now, who did produce? Kayla Thornton and Mo Billings. Y'all know I've been asking for more Mo, since the start of the season, and she gets the start. And what did she have, like 18 and 8? Couple of threes kind of shocked me. I didn't know that she was that confident with the three ball, and looked how I suspected she would look, getting more opportunity. And Kayla continues she's got to be amongst the league leaders in getting fouled on threes. She sells that really well. She's making them. She's just doing what she's doing. It's become consistent, 15 to 20 points from Kayla every night. That's fine. But you have to have, even if it's not scoring, they're not putting enough. They're not threatening the defense enough. And when you flip that to this Dallas Wings team with Paige and Arike, it's like the complete opposite, right? Paige is already getting blitzed and seeing 2 on every ball screen. Arike puts so much pressure on you because she'll shoot any shot, right? I'm not a huge fan of Arike, I have to admit. Like she's very talented and she can be a bucket, but what is she shooting, like 32% from the field? Like she just takes, her shot quality is horrible. If she took better shots and waited for better shots, she'd be much more efficient. And I'm not sure I like that pairing between them. I think that I just don't like it long term. I think that that's part of the issue with this Wings team right now. But, our defense, you saw how much attention we had to pay to those two in every ball screen action. And in turn, what that did was we got killed on the glass because our bigs had to come up and pay attention. We couldn't reposition for rebounding. You're missing Temi, you're missing Salon, right? And let me try to get this name right. Leticia Amihir, right? Out of South Carolina, 14 points, 6 of 7 field goals. Love the motor. Ultra quick first step out of the corner there. Can finish with the left hand. And I think that she can be a matchup problem with some of these slower bigs, but it's always a two-way street, right? And as effective as she was on the offensive glass and just being quick, right? She couldn't box out on the defensive glass you saw there at the end. That's what put us away. It kind of felt like that Mercury game where we just couldn't execute down the stretch. But what did they have? They had 2 possessions where they got like 4 shots to melt the clock. And so she's not great on the defensive glass. She's given up a lot of weight to some of these other bigs, right? Where she has the advantage in foot speed offensively. Defensively, when they seal her, it's a problem, right? And she can't hold them off. The other thing that she's got to get a lot better at is setting screens. The botched baseline out of bounds plays, which has kind of been a theme early in the year. She's just slight, and that's right, the archetype, right? These slighter, quicker bigs, they don't really want to get wide and set big screens. She misses a couple screens. We can't get the ball inbound, more turnovers, and it's a game that slips through their fingers. I really thought we should have pulled this one out. Now, part of the answer to maybe some of this backcourt issue and in production, and maybe a big part, is Tiffany Hayes returns. The vet, the OG, hit a couple threes, had a transition lay, but she wasn't up to game speed, as to be expected. What is she sat out like 2 weeks? She's played 3 games the entire season. So it's not fair to expect her to be in rhythm and up to game speed. And I thought you saw that. And down the stretch, you saw them try to yield to her. Like, all right, let's get her going. She's our vet. She's going to create for us. And it wasn't quite there yet. So that may solve some of the issues as far as just backcourt production and a go-to scorer when the game slows down. But as I'm finishing up my breakdown, which I'll put the link in the description, it's a full breakdown of all these Valkyries games. I encourage y'all, if y'all don't want to watch every game, support me, watch the breakdowns, and then when you're ready to jump on and really follow the team, you'll be ready. But news breaks, again, the roster change. This is so challenging. You're already in your first year of conception as an organization, and now you're just trading players in and out daily. They sign another Don Staley player in Bree Hall. 6'1", 6'5" wingspan, big defensive-minded guard. If you came out of South Carolina, you're defensive-minded, right? You know the motor is going to be there and the fundamental principles of defense will be there. You can see that that's the type. That's the type of the culture that the Valkyries are building. But what's maybe more intriguing about her, who she was the 20th pick in this year's draft by Indiana, but Indiana, pretty talented roster, so she didn't make it. She's got a pull-up jump shot. At 6'1", long arms, pull-up jump shot, shot 38% from three at South Carolina. But we're in desperate need of more players that can get to their own shot. I'm not saying she's going to like mix somebody and come off a ball screen, but, attacking a closeout or, melting clock, she can rise up and shoot a shot. And so if you combine that with the defense, if that comes as advertised, that's someone who I look at on paper who should get an opportunity over Kate Martin. If Kate Martin's going to waffle from game to game. And so they've got to figure this out. And it's going to be an uphill battle when you're constantly changing out parts of an engine that was just built, right? So disappointing loss. Dallas Wings, again, I said Arike, extremely talented. I don't like the shot selection. It's Jordan Poolish, man. She is a chucker, right? But when it looks good, it looks good. I understand why she's a popular player. But as far as Paige goes, man, listen, to me, I said this in the breakdown. I know this sounds a little wild, but she kind of reminds me of Luka with Jokic's mindset. She's got Luka's skill set, but she's obviously much more of a playmaker and share the ball type of mentality than Luka. But why she reminds me of Luka is she just shoots it on her time. It's always on her time. You cannot speed up her release. And with the W ball, how it's the double panel, right? You can really see the rotation on the shots and how smooth, not only is it rotating the right way, which is first and foremost, right? But the RPMs, the rotations per second, RPS, whatever you want to call it, how smooth it is just lets you know how smooth of a release it is and that it's never sped up. And so she's come as advertised, just 20 points. You never felt like she had the ball too much. And in fact, she probably didn't have it enough. We went to a zone for a little bit. I thought that was risque, but it worked for a couple minutes. And we move on to Indiana where, CeCe's back, man. It's going to be tough, right? And they're a high-powered offense. I just don't see how we can score with them. You have to muck it up and slow down the possessions and make it an ugly one in order to stay in that. Now, underdog. Finals, Game 6, back in Indiana. I don't know, man. I kind of think we're going 7. The J-Dub game. And, all the talk about Tyrese and the calf, right? Now, if he's compromised, he's compromised. And it is what it is. And I was telling my guy about it the other day, like Halliburton, so unorthodox how he moves, right? He's always squared up. And that's in part why he can see the entire floor. When you think about a lead guard and a guy that's trying to score, right? They put their shoulder to you. They blade to you. They switch hips so they can create angles to step back and go to the angles. And Halliburton's always squared, right? Even in his step back, he's squared up at you. And because of that and his high hips, the leg movement's weird. And I could see where the calf thing could be even more of an issue. That said, I'm going to believe in Hallie here. And I think that I'm going to go higher than 1.5 threes in this Game 6. I think he's going to play. And whether he's right or not, I think he's going to shoot more and be more aggressive. And then I am going to go higher than Lou Dort, 7.5 points. He's boom or bust. What was he like, 1 of 6 in that Game 6? So I expect Lou to shoot better. And I expect Halliburton to be much more aggressive in this Game 6. And as much as the momentum is, it feels like OKC is established, like we are clearly the better team here. Trying to close out this Pacers team in Indiana with Reggie Miller courtside foaming at the mouth and that crowd not sitting for a second, it's going to be a tough task, man. I just have a feeling we're going to go 7. But those are my underdog picks. You can click the link in the description and use the code Alchemy for a 50% bonus on your first deposit up to 1,000 credits. And it's a great way to support the channel. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.